Ignition sequence start.
Good morning, everyone, and this is Loretta Sternowski from Got Spouse Need House podcast. Welcome. For those of you who don't know, Got Spouse Need House is a company that works with specialized agents that deal with newlyweds and engaged couples. We like to help you through the whole process, and when you're ready to buy or sell a house, we actually give you 10% credit of the realtor's commission to help with your expenses. And as we know, weddings are a little bit of a pocket buster. So we just feel that that's a special way to help you onto the next chapter of your life. So this morning we have a very special guest. She is a wedding officiant, but she has a little bit of a different twist to what she does. Valerie Kingsman, is that right? Valerie Kingsman?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the show. Can you tell us where you're from and a little bit about your journey?
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm from Southern California. Myself and my husband is actually also an officiant. So we together do about 200 weddings throughout Southern California. We're located in Orange County. We're just south of LA, if you know where that is. So lots of weddings going on in California. And we do about 200 a year, I just mentioned. So we've been doing this for about 10 years now, and we've married over 1,200 couples. So,
and what made you decide to do this?
Really, the inspiration was our own love story. So we've been married 14 years now this year. Yeah. And I would have never thought officiating weddings is not like a super popular job title. But I was so inspired by our own love story. And I really went to our friend who is also a pastor when we were getting married and said, I would really love for you to highlight the journey. He'd been a part of it. We actually got engaged in Uganda. And he moved out there to propose. So we spent some time out there. And there was a whole crowd of people who kind of watched this happen virtually. So I really wanted the focus when we came back and got married in California for them to feel like they were more part of that journey and to kind of relive it in the ceremony. He said, sure. And we didn't get anything in the ceremony, kind of what it does for everyone. And it was the traditional hour-long kind of religious ceremony. And I just had this sense of that was my chance to kind of share my heart and how much we love our love story and how fun and exciting and adventurous it was. And none of it really made it into the ceremony, but I didn't really quite know how to articulate or how he would even articulate how to pull that off at a ceremony, right? And then it really just kind of stalled the rest of the timeline when I looked at, wow, this thing took an hour as well, and the content wasn't really what I was looking for. So I thought about that a lot. Years later, we got an opportunity when my husband was working at a church. The senior pastor turned a couple away because they were living together. So we felt like that's actually a beautiful love story, and they were multicultural. So there were a bunch of reasons why they weren't a good fit for this pastor. He didn't feel comfortable marrying them. But my husband was recently licensed, and so we hunted them down and we said, we celebrate every love story. I want to know more about your love story. And he ended up doing the first wedding we were invited to. My oldest daughter was only 9 months old. So I always say our company is as old as my daughter, who's now almost 12. That was the beginning. We had so much fun as a family celebrating this couple, but it was our first chance. I said, we need to give them what we never had in our ceremony. So together we wrote basically this method of love storytelling within a ceremony that we use to this day for all our couples. I've got a background in news writing and journalism and public speaking, and my husband's got a lot of musical theater and, of course, church work. So we translated and used everything we know of how to engage, crowds and stuff. And it's turned into our kind of signature way of doing ceremonies.
I love that. And of course, real life experiences are the best. They're the most heartfelt. And I'm sure you put that into every one of your
Yes.
experiences with what you're doing. So, can you tell
Mhm.
us what is different, what you guys do on the luxury side as opposed to the traditional wedding?
Yeah, so I always say when we hear luxury, especially thrown around in the wedding industry, it usually means you're a higher budget bride, higher budget couple with more zeros attached to it. And when we say luxury, I'm really talking about a couple's value system, because really
Hmm.
I'm really a smaller percentage of time when you look at the timeline of the entire day of an event of a wedding. The ceremonies that I do are only they're under 30 minutes, really. And we want to keep them that way. So we're looking for couples. When we say luxury, it's about the luxuries that we provide them. But they could afford me by, the same amount of what they're paying on their cake or something like that. So it's not a really high ticket item compared to the venue, compared to catering and stuff like that. So anybody who values the ceremony experience and really wants to tell their love story well on their wedding day can afford this. Most couples are paying 50 grand at least on their wedding. So what we wanted to infuse and just really offer is something completely new, where you have the luxury of complete control of the ceremony. First of all, that's what I wish I had. If I had seen everything that was going to be said, I could have tweaked it and said, this is what I'm looking for. So we help couples articulate, but you have the luxury of doing that. You also have the luxury of going along this journey that a lot of couples are kind of wanting that wishing that they could have. So if you're not going to use a minister or a pastor, you're probably going to use a family or friend before you look for a professional. And that's really popular. There's kind of been nothing in between. And I like to call ourselves, we're the friend with benefits, because you probably don't have a friend who has 20 years of public speaking experience.
Right.
So, one of the luxuries is that all of your people get to just be guests and enjoy and sit back.
Sure.
You have the luxury of being absolutely on time. I can tell you to the minute how long this is going to be. The vendors have the luxury when I walk in to know we're going to be absolutely on time so we can do our job too. The photographer is going to get the lighting that they want. The planner is very happy because she knows it's a predictable excellence. So it's really a value system when we say luxury, that these couples come expecting not to have any awkwardness, not to have any weirdness, not to have anything said that doesn't reflect them. I tell them, I can promise you're going to be a superstar after this. You already are, but their unique love story and the unique take that we're going to highlight is something that most people aren't expecting. So
So,
it's all those things in a nutshell.
so basically, so to make it that personalized experience that you didn't have, that was like a stock ceremony, if you will.
Hmm.
How do you prepare for that? Or do you have a phone conversation? Do you meet them in person? Do you talk to them separately? Is there any kind of element of surprise?
Yeah, I always say it's a predictable, approved surprise. If we have a surprise in the
Okay.
ceremony, like, are you okay with this? Do you want to give me freedom in this? But in the very initial call, we spend about 30 minutes to an hour with them, just talking about what they're looking for. So, and a lot of them, they just know what they don't want. I saw a friend do it, or I saw this and that, and I don't want that. I want something more professional. So usually I'll ask them, what do you want your guests to feel, when they're at your event? And they'll say things like, this is special for my family. They're all coming together. We don't do that very often. They'll
Right.
say different things. I want the day to be romantic and to capture our love. So I'm able to then turn around with a set of elements that I think are going to really highlight that feeling that they're going for. What's the vibe you want to create? Of course, we want them to celebrate you, but there's usually a dream. Same thing when they're buying a house, right? We can kind of narrow things down. We talk
Sure.
about area and price point and what's the aesthetic of it. It's the same thing, but it has to do more with words and feelings and the vibe, that the emotion we want to create in your guests. So that we can usually nail down within the first 30 minutes. And I'll say, I do custom ceremonies. However, that varies widely from couple to couple. And so I don't want to just say that to you. I want to show you. So I'll even pull out and rehearse some parts of the script so they can get a feel. And by the end of that call, I'll say, first of all, I have your rough draft. I'm going to send it to you right away so they can see everything. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to remember all of what was said. They can see what custom looks like for them. They say, I'm looking for the recipe that is, the two of you.
Yeah.
And so when they can see that from beginning to end and I walk them through it, they feel like, wow. First of all, I don't know anybody else who could do that, but you really listened. And then I give them, more pieces to kind of think about. And then 30 days out, we're going to have another meeting where we really fine tune every little detail, more details than you could possibly think surrounding a ceremony. But that gives them a lot of excitement. In between there, though, we started creating ways for them to meet us in person and to connect more because they have so many questions about marriage license and even things that go deeper into the planning area. Like, I don't know how to do this, or what about writing my vows? I'm really nervous about that. So every month we have Zoom meetings of all of our couples that are getting married. And so they hop on and we do a different topic and they have access to this vault where it's all our recorded information. So they feel very, very connected to us. And then every couple of months, we'll rent out a dance studio nearby and they'll all show up and we have a private space where the instructors will help them plan out their dance routine for their first dance.
Oh no.
So it extends way far beyond the
Sure.
just the ceremony. We have chemistry by the time I get up there, and they don't even call me like a wedding pro or a wedding vendor. They're like, I know it's going to be good, but you're my friend by the time we get up there. So I'm able to deliver these ceremonies, and people go, oh my gosh, I never met you. How do you know her? Never thinking that they actually hired me as a vendor like the rest, because there is a journey and experience where we hop on board with them and actually walk a lot of this with them beforehand.
Oh, that sounds great. So
Mhm.
I actually, for the last 3 weeks, I've been spending 1 to 2 hours a week doing AI mastery classes in ChatGTP, Google My Business, all that kind of stuff. Has that
Mhm.
come into your world?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not as skilled using it, but couples are using it to plan their weddings and to find us. We're for the first time getting way more just inquiries for availability on Instagram and social media.
Right.
And so that's a shift from the normal platforms where people would normally find us, in the years before. So all of that is a lot more important. And now there's a lot of talk in my industry about Gen Z. Gen Z is now old enough to get married, right? So they're popping up. They're very tech savvy. They're
Mm-hmm.
teaching me things. I had a bride who got engaged in Japan in December, and she really wanted to get married in April. And she said she used all Chat GPT and AI to keep everything organized so she could pull it off that fast because the date was super important to her. So it's interesting. Yeah, they know a lot more about that stuff than I do, but they are using it as a resource
Yeah.
to find me and to find all their vendors and to plan everything for them.
Yeah, I actually just bought this thing called Plod. It's like a little recorder. And normally,
Hmm.
when I go to list a house or meet with a buyer, then I just take notes like the old fashioned way.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all changed. So now I have a little recording device. So, say I go to list your house, we walk through the house, you tell me, Loretta, we did this kitchen in 2016, it's solid maple, blah, 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 Viking
Hmm.
appliances. Anyways, it takes, then I go back and I put this into ChatGPT and it creates a listing description. And I even ask it, how was my presentation to the client? It says, well, you could be more, talk to the wife more. It sounds like she has a more dynamic personality. It's just, it's amazing. And one of the guys in our class today said, if a realtor is not uh, educating themselves on AI and ChatGTP, they're going to get way left behind.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really easy. I just turn it all on. I've used it the most for my Zooms
Oh, oh yeah,
meetings. So whenever we plan a ceremony now, nothing gets left behind because it's all recorded, it's all transcribed.
right.
So there's no misunderstandings or like, oh, I didn't say that or anything. And it's made, keeping records for me a lot easier to keep
Sure.
track of this is what they wanted, we had that conversation about this. Makes things quicker too. From feel like I'm on the back end of it, there's like just the stuff we need to learn, right? And the youngers are so quick to like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I use
for
this,
sure.
this.
Well, that's their world that they grew up in. But I mean,
Mhm.
uh, in some ways, it's great because everything is so, I mean, we just had to do things differently. But
Uh-huh.
we also, had different experience of going to a concert without a phone and recording everything, and it was just people might be in the moment a bit more, than they are now.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because you can't, unless you are in control of the AI, it can kind of get out of hand. Where my husband had this one groom that was like, I put my vows and had Chat GPT write my vows for me.
Yeah,
And
who is that person?
right. And he was so proud of it, right? And I thought, well, that's not like a bad idea. But what the guest said was there was such big words in there, it didn't sound like him. Like people were
Exactly.
kind of joking during the ceremony. So you can use it for convenience to assist you, is my opinion. But when you're working with a real life crowd, you have to use like the human element is really
Of
important,
course.
that this matches who you are. There was this Provenance app that popped up that a couple years ago that people were talking about, and it was helping people write their entire ceremonies. So I had some of these couples going, "Oh, we did it all in Provenance. What do you think?" And it was so wordy. Like nobody talks like this. So like, and I thought this is great if you have a family member or friend doing this who's never done this before. They've got something to read.
Sure.
But for us, where 80% of what I do is interacting with the crowd and interacting and being there for the couple and telling their story from a real life perspective, these conversations I've had with you, so that I can, you know, create this kind of unique experience. It doesn't work. It takes, we're pulling off of the years of experience that we have on how to engage a couple, how to engage a crowd and how to properly spotlight the things that they told me matter to them too, which I don't think that, a computer could necessarily fully grasp. So I think it's a great assisting tool,
Sure.
but not to like start from scratch where you don't give it much guidance.
Yeah.
And this is a really deeply personal experience too. So I make them do homework. It's not a ton and it's a lot of fun, but I'm like, I need you to dig deeper and I got to pull out the best of you guys in this story and what matters to you so that I can then put it on showcase for your guests.
So I know you mentioned that your husband is your partner in this business. So do
Mhm.
you officiate the wedding together? Do you guys have you all, I'm doing this wedding, you're doing this wedding, or how do you do that?
We're typically in two totally different places at the same
Okay.
time. So we're able to do more
And
that way.
so if I want to hire your team, are there people that say, I want Valerie, or I want your husband, or how does that work?
Yeah, they have access to both of us and a choice. And a lot of times, especially the younger they get, there's not this preference usually. Every once in a while, someone will be drawn to something specifically for me, or I want, a lot of brides will say, I want a woman. I want a woman.
Okay.
It's just a preference, sometimes we get some more religious couples and their idea is I always imagine being married by a man. That's less and less though, because our couples are generally much more modern in their values and it's pretty equal.
Sure.
So it comes down to more availability, who's available. So if they have a choice between the two of us, our our reputation's pretty out there where they're like, oh, you guys have won tons of awards, you've done so many, whoever, we're going to deliver a same ceremony experience, but I always say, my husband's going to have a slightly deeper voice and a little bit more facial hair. So
So when you mentioned awards, I'm just curious because I haven't heard that before. So what is there some kind of a what just expand on the awards part for me?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, people are always voting on who's the best officiants in the area. They do this in specifically a magazine we're published in every issue. So, behind me are the newest ones we just won last month for California Wedding Day. There's also the same woman who owns that company also owns Arizona Bride. So in January, we made our way into Arizona too, because there's a whole bunch of brides there too.
Uh huh.
So, anyways, we submit the pictures and things that we do in weddings all year, and our couples first are able to nominate us and vote for us. And we're up against all the others, in the area. So we've won quite a few. There's other platforms like Wedding Wire and The Knot. It's really popular when you're looking for, and we've been in the Hall of Fame for years there, and we win every year at the Couples Choice Award and things like that. So after a while, it's we've got so many of them. What's really important to us is that we do our job well.
Yeah.
But then it's cool to have things to show for it because couples who have never heard of you before will rely on that kind of feedback, and they always look at the reviews, the
For
reviews
sure.
from real couples and what they say. So it's a lot of fun to network in our own industry. We work with a lot of the same people, a lot of the same vendors, and they all travel all over the world. So
Right.
it's a really luxurious, fun industry to be in where people are always happy, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to also, get the credit and the recognition for offering something unique that is really making a difference for these couples on their special day. So,
So it sounds like if you're not from Southern California, if you are from Arizona, people can still hire you if they want to.
oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, we'll travel. Most of them, I have a lot of brides who have come from Arizona to get married in California. So they're looking in the California market for vendors. But we love going new places and stuff too. So depending on
Especially
where they
in
want to
the
get
summer,
married.
probably when it's hot.
Oh, for sure.
Great.
September is really popular for, oh, I'm beating the heat from Arizona. I'm coming out here. We want to see the water. Yeah.
Now I know you have years of experience, but is there one experience or one couple that kind of you could think of that was a very unique or memorable experience for you?
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's always the emotion that was created in the ceremony. And I think it was 5 years ago. I married a couple who almost canceled their wedding because the groom came down during the planning process with stage 4 cancer.
Oh no.
And um, because that's such a unique experience, and he beat it before, I think it was months before the wedding date. And I have never, there's always a sense of celebration, but the sense of celebration in that crowd, those 200 people, was something different, was something unique. And the way that the groom's father and his sister hugged me, crying afterwards, saying, "No one's ever talked about my brother that way." It was almost the easiest ceremony I've ever done because these were the happiest people.
Sure.
And not because of the alcohol before, but because they all were part of this journey. The couple themselves they just have this sense of celebration and
Right.
appreciation for life.
Of
I
course.
didn't know them before all that, but I get a sense that they're fun, and I've followed them, on social media. We're both like Disney fans and stuff.
That's
So I still talk to them on social media, and they're just a fun, happy couple, anyways. And the way that they handled this, and they handled it so publicly with all their friends and family, that group, it was just infectious. And so I left with this sense of I really did this milestone in their life was so much more important than just that day, of course, but also to have the privilege of capturing them and then to feel the electric vibe afterwards of just people who are so grateful for life and for love and that they made it to this stage in their journey to be
cry during
able.
did you cry?
I did not.
Oh my,
And
how did
one of the reasons why it wasn't an emotional ceremony at all. That was the thing that I remember. Everybody was just like ready to party. They laughed during the ring exchange, which is like a serious part where I'm like, I had to even tell them the groom's just laughing. And he still was on some medications and telling me about his back pain and stuff before the ceremony. But he's getting his ring and he's laughing. And I told him, this is supposed to be a serious part of the ceremony, and everybody's laughing because they were just so happy. It's like I made it to a point I didn't even think I would make it to. So everything is just so full of joy. And I'll never forget that. Every ceremony is special in its different ways. I kind of come up with nicknames. That's my Disney couple. That's my skydiving couple.
I love
Like there's always something I remember.
yeah.
But that one, whenever I look back, if you're ever feeling down or something, get around a crowd like that. And it was so much more than just a wedding. It was a celebration of life.
I love that. So, what advice would you give to couples that just got engaged as far as planning and what should be their first step?
The two of you really, real narrow down what you want. You could say that about real estate too, right? What is it that you want? We both come with these ideas, expectations, and dreams. And what I find really, really makes the whole wedding planning experience, which can be 1 to 2 years on average, most of them are kind of their other full-time job, a lot of my brides will say, is planning this wedding. It can be really stressful if we're not clear on what we want as a couple, what's important to us. So if you let Pinterest decide for you, it's going to eat up your budget really fast, and then it gets really stressful. We overspent on this, and that wasn't that important to us. And now what we really want, we don't have the money for. Um, so decide together, and that looks different. But when I see a couple really nail this, they enjoy the journey so much more. And they're united in that
Right.
idea, that experience that they want. And they have a lot more fun too.
And I think
And that's
that's
advice for myself too. I wish I
yeah.
had done that.
I think that just reiterates the importance of hiring a professional, especially like yourself, that has experience, that has testimonial, that has won awards. Because
Mhm.
I know for myself, it's the same thing. I have years of experience, awards. When people tell me I want this type of house, this, they usually don't end up buying that because
Mhm.
by the time I go through the question consulting period with them and start showing them houses, I start analyzing how they live, and we usually find something that's better suited to them. So it's
Mm.
sort of like looking at Pinterest. Maybe that's not exactly the right thing for you and for your budget.
Right. Yeah. I feel like maybe the stock photos of a beautiful ceremony, they think I have to spend this much on flowers. You don't.
Yeah.
I have to
Ex-
spend this much on this. You don't. And so we even offer these strategy sessions, which is a new thing because couples come to us and go, we're so stressed out. And I say, I've seen over 1,000 ceremonies. Let me help you narrow down what it is you guys truly want. And some of them call off the wedding completely and realize we wanted to go have something in Cancun with just our 15 people, right?
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, although sometimes we have pressures and we have advice, right? And that probably happens a lot with especially a first time couple who's buying their house.
Yeah.
The family comes in or the friends are like, I know what we're doing. This is what you want. And it's like, you guys
No.
really need to. I'm sure that
Yeah.
response tells me you're right.
The parents come from some other state and they're like, no, this is too much money. And yeah, so I totally
Yes.
understand that. It's,
And we see the same thing happens with weddings. And I always say, the only couple I can never please, no matter how great the ceremony is, no matter how much we offer support throughout the journey, are those who are allowing others to decide
yeah.
what they want. So if mom wants this and they're pushing for that, and there's no say, for the couple, and this is mostly covered by them, then it ends up being kind of like a ceremony that's not really about them, a day that's not really about them. And sometimes they just say, I just want to get through
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So Yeah, what
This
they
was
want really
great. I
matters.
learned so much from you about today. It was awesome. Can
Oh,
you
thank
tell
you.
everyone who's listening how they can get in touch with you? What are your social handles, website, phone number? And for those of you listening, we will send out the recording with edits and provide all of our contact information. But if they're sitting at the computer right now with a pen, I'm sure they want to know.
Yeah, well, we love social media. So Instagram, you can learn a lot and see a lot and follow us and even watch us do weddings and stuff on there. So at Weddings Royale, you'll find myself and my husband on there quite a bit. You can send us a message there or at our website. You can also send an inquiry and see more of our videos and examples at weddingsroyale.com.
That's fantastic. Thank you again. I'm sure you have a get ready for the weekend, a couple weddings to do this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of fun.
Well, that's great. Once again, everyone, this is Loretta Sternowski, Got Spouse Need House. Remember, when you are ready to do your real estate transaction, we provide you with a 10% credit on closing as well. We have preferred lenders and title companies that will give you discounts on their service as well. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Thank you.